here's 50, here's 100. Just make sure people fill them out and mail them in. Get them to register absentee, right? Vote like a Republican, vote by mail. Make it easy on yourself. This stuff is complicated. Do it at the kitchen table. Mail it in. But do it. Carry stacks of voter registration cards around and just make it easy for them. Give them to them. Give them the 90-second blurb on this is how you help somebody register to vote. Make sure it gets mailed in. So I just want to thank Preston and all of the other San Jose activists who do that work.
Last one. I have a follow-up question to the last one. We operate a patient resource center in Southern Oregon. We do have voter registration cards, and we try to stay active, especially within our state. We have very different laws than, all the states are very different. We have some specific guidelines that we have to work within. But my question is, what do you suggest to extremely busy dispensary/nonprofit owners? We have the voter registration cards, and we do work within the state, but ways to stay connected with the larger movement, and also ways to funnel that down to our patients that aren't on social media. We do a pretty good job of the social media part, I feel like. The average age of a patient in Oregon is 57. And so we are trying to reach, a large range of people. So what do you suggest as far as tools or skills for us to use in reaching our patients as far as the political side of things?
I would suggest that you look at ways that you can build something into your process. So, for example, put a message on the receipt or on the medicine information sheet that you give to patients. Put a little sidebar that says, hey, have you registered to vote? Consider, we support ASA, or we support whatever organization in your state that you support. Check them out. Here's the website. And that way, of course, also educate your bud tenders so that they're just working it into their discussion with patients as part of the talk, rather than having to necessarily make sure that you do a special effort to do a special mailing or call campaign or something. Build it right into the systems you're already doing.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice. And it's just about making it easy, because people, business owners and voters, rank and file voters alike, generally are discouraged from getting involved in politics because it just seems nebulous and confusing. And if you make it simple and say, if this law passes or doesn't pass, this will happen, and that's good or bad, and this is who you need to call to keep that from happening or make it happen, whatever. The phone number on the receipt is a great idea, or just something you put in every bag, every product that you sell, so that people, it's in front of their face all the time, and just make it very simple rather than trying to explain, the whole constitutional system,
So let me just jump in here and then we'll get to you. Do you want to answer this question, or do you have another one? Okay. So I love it that we're talking about business models, which are organizational models, which aren't necessarily just about making money, because we are a movement for social change. So if you want to make money, my advice is to open a self-serve yogurt store. Have you seen these places? The kids go in, they give them a 5-gallon bucket, 19 kinds of yogurt and gravel sprinkles at $17 a gram. The kid's got a $12 yogurt. They eat 3 bites. They throw it away. That thing is a license to print money, and as far as I can tell, it's legal. But if you want to change laws, and if you have some kind of commitment to doing that with cannabis, bless your heart, what you have is a classic community organizing problem, right? You have a group of disconnected individuals who can see that something is right and needs to be changed, and they need to organize themselves. If you run around trying to do it all by yourself, I promise you, you will burn out. Every person I know who's done this work has tried to do it that way. I'll go to every meeting, I'll do it all myself, I'll henny penny this thing. It won't work, okay? You will burn out. So what you have to do are build elegant structures that invite people to come together as a community and community organize themselves into small actions that can begin to affect the viewpoints of decision makers. So for instance, I have some veterans in San Jose who make it a point to organize themselves, even if it's only 3 or 4 of them, as veterans for medical cannabis, and they go down to San Jose City Hall and they talk to the city council member who labels herself as the veterans activist because she was in the Air Force, right? What is she going to say to an Iraq War veteran, a Green Beret, Special Forces Marine, who is missing his left hand, which he left in Iraq for this country, and medical cannabis works for him, right? She's got nothing to say to him except to shut up and listen to him, okay? Because he can hurt her or he can help her. And so the other classic move you have to do with community organizing is you have to work with other social change groups. And if you go Google Industrial Areas Foundation or Ernesto Cortez or Saul Alinsky, this has all been worked out. How do you bring various social pressure groups together to share bodies? We'll come to your action, we'll bring our patients, you come to our action, and that way instead of having 10 people, we've got 20 people or however those numbers work. But that means that you need to empower people in the community to run around and have those one-on-ones with other people who have different issues and see what do they feel about as strongly as you feel about cannabis and find some way to work together. You want to take that? You want to go back here? Cool.
Just real quick, as far as, states that don't have any kind of dispensaries but they're medical states, if you were gonna start something, a model there to start to open things up, how would, what size would it be? How would you do it? Do you have any wisdom, about that?
States that have a caregiver model?
Well, for instance, Hawaii. That's where I'm from. But, just how is there any advice you have to creating something that would start the initiative, start the movement of organizing, but maybe not go too far too quickly, and just have any advice there?
Well, I'll defer to these guys about organizing the movement, but I will say for your own use, I think being very careful with the kind of documentation and tracking that you keep it totally private, keep it in a fireproof safe, but say, I saw the doctor, and here's where I got my recommendation, and here's the plants I planted, and it was only so many on this day, and make sure that you've got documentation that you're staying within the guidelines of your state. Because you don't have a lot of really clear laws or rules in your state to protect you. So you need to make sure that you're protecting yourself. And I'll let you guys speak to organizing a movement.
Right. So traditionally, even in California, it was not clear between 96 and 2004 that a dispensary model was acceptable under California law. And it's still not clear to some interpretations of state law. So you're always pushing the envelope in some way or the other. As it's evolved in California, 538 local governments either have a ban, a temporary ban, a moratorium, or regulations, or nothing. At one time, all local governments had no regulations in California regarding medical cannabis, right? So we asserted that we had a right to do collectively in association under our First Amendment constitutional rights of association what we could do individually. And if individually I am a patient or a caregiver and I can grow and possess cannabis for medical purposes, then surely my constitutional rights allow me to do that in association with other people, right? That is taking a legal position, which you may end up arguing about in front of a judge, possibly facing criminal charges. Now, you come talk to me after this, and I will talk to you about Hawaii, because I'm from Hawaii, I'm Kanaka Maoli, I'm licensed in Hawaii, and there's only 2 levels of government in Hawaii. There's the state, and there's the 4 counties, and we need to work both of them just a little bit. And in case you hadn't noticed, Hawaii is a very small town, so we can talk about that.
Yes.
I'd like to know what you think the significance of Executive Order 13603 is that Obama signed on March 16th that identifies cannabis as critical to national security. For people who aren't aware of it, on March 16th, Obama became the 7th American president to sign an executive order specifically identifying hemp as a strategic food resource. What's really interesting about that is that thanks to the work of people like Dr. Courtney up in Mendocino, the definition of food resource has been exponentially expanded to include raw cannabis, raw marijuana, as Dr. Courtney calls it a dietary essential for all 7 billion people on the planet. And just to address what you said about individuals inviting participation, I contacted my congresswoman up in Sonoma County, Congresswoman Lynn Woolsey, and I contacted Homeland Security, the Committee for Emergency Preparedness last week. I sent them a letter of essential civilian demand, because in the executive order that Obama signed, it stated that strategic resources are available by essential civilian demand, just as William Clinton did. And what my perception of the situation is the ball's in our court. The contemporary cannabis culture has responsibility of taking that executive order and pointing out that you can't have a Schedule I drug that's also a strategic resource. You just can't have both. And the fact is that cannabis is so effective in its raw form, without any psychoactivity, without any smoke inhalation, for not only successfully treating serious illnesses and injuries, but also preventing them. Now, the world we live in right now is completely changed because of two things: the release of radiation from Fukushima and the doubling of the UVB radiation that's making it to the surface of the planet as a result of cutting down the boreal forests. People should understand that cannabis is the only crop that produces the atmospheric aerosols that the boreal forests used to produce.
Cool, thanks. I want to make sure I get a chance for them to respond too. So,
okay.
Is that the bulk of it? That's awesome.
Well, I'm just pointing out that there are opportunities for state strategies, but there's also opportunities for federal strategies, and they're not mutually exclusive. In Hawaii, I would recommend that you participate in jury nullification of Roger Christie's case, the Hawaiian THC Ministry. And I really would just like to make one observation about the cannabis culture, and that's that we have failed to identify cannabis as both unique and essential. And that's what Roger Christie is doing. He's in federal prison without trial, without bail, and he's been in there for 2 years almost. His trial is coming up in August. And as his trial approaches, what the contemporary cannabis culture needs to do is to unite behind him and nullify that jury, because it's a federal trial, and as you said, Hawaii is a small town. We can blanket Hawaii with that information, along with the increased appreciation of cannabis as both unique and essential, a strategic resource. Thanks very much. I appreciate the extra time.
Anybody care to comment?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the answer is the same as what we've been talking about all along. It's deschedule. Deschedule and allow states like North Dakota to institute hemp programs. I think it's absurd that we have an it's the only agricultural product that you can import, processed, but you can't produce here. So I think we're all on the same page with that.
Yeah, and what I love about the Deep Green Festival is you see it's got the 7 dimensions of hemp, that this isn't just about the psychoactive experience, that there's all these other ways that this plant has a role to play, and for every one of those there's a possibly good legal strategy. And the fact that there are people out there trying out all these different legal strategies, whether it's through spiritual or nutritional, through medical, through personal, I mean, there's all these different angles, and that's what I love about this movement, is everybody's hitting at this core thing of prohibition from 50 different angles, and we're chipping away, and we don't know which one's going to work or which bunch of them are going to work. But it's wonderful that we have such a diversified strategy, a diversified portfolio of taking this beast down. We're about how much? 10 more minutes? Okay, cool. One more. Go ahead.
Great. Hi, my name is Jay. I just wanted to say that I was a little disappointed that we didn't talk as much about business and that we went political, but I'm not disappointed that we went political because we went political. I'm disappointed that we went political and you gave no one an option. You just threw up these two, all the Obama and Mitt, you know, the Democrats and the Republicans, and none of them we're just in a hopeless situation. None of them will be good. I think that's a false image that you painted in a lot of people's heads today, that it doesn't matter if we get Obama or Mitt Romney. You guys think that Obama's policies suck right now? He's the Democrat that's trying to ensure that he gets a second term. Imagine the Republican that comes in and wants to try and get a second term. You know, he's not going to come in friendly, and he's definitely not going to come for a second term friendly. Yeah. And this is Obama being friendly. Yeah. So I just wanted to bring that up, that if you guys are going to be projecting that you should be involved in activism, you really need to give people an option. Even just saying registering as an independent to show that you are not standing with either side of the party, great. But to just say, what's the point, that really doesn't make me want to get engaged because it makes me feel hopeless.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that that input, and you know, that's valuable. And I would also say, like, at least for me personally, if you're in a state that's not a contested state, I mean, my big encouragement is vote for a third party you agree with, so that you can really send a message. So I'm gonna do.
Yeah, I don't think it was our intention to suggest that you should not care who is the president, or that you should not vote. But by all means, vote for whoever you think is the best candidate. Discuss it amongst yourselves. I think as we wind down, you know, we can all have that discussion. I think the only point we were trying to make is that we have lived through Republican presidents, we have lived through Democratic presidents. There isn't any clear pattern. Yeah, I would say, all things being equal, second term Obama, as an optimist, I'm thinking that's a good thing. And if it turns out that it is Mitt Romney, because this country is crazy, right? Mitt Romney could very well be elected. He could unseat an incumbent president, okay? That can happen. I hope it doesn't, but if it does, like, we have to be open-minded to surviving in that possible future. And I think we have to be open to the possibility, and maybe this has become sort of hack and trite now, but and maybe I'll date myself as a postmodern cultural critic, but the right does the work of the left, right? Nixon went to China. So I don't really care who legalizes pot, if it's the Democrats or the Republicans, or if somebody else does it before me, that's great. But I do think we need to focus on Colorado this year. So elect the president, re-elect the president, legalize Colorado. That's our fulcrum. That's our focus point. If we bring the entire resources of the national cannabis movement to bear on the little state of Colorado, we will bring that. We will bring it. And that is the beginning of the end. So I hope to see you next year, and we can celebrate that.
Nice. Wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for being here. One thing I want to mention, too, is one panelist that wasn't able to be here, Joanna LaForce, who runs the pharmacy in Southern California, which is an amazing model cannabis dispensary, couldn't be here. She had a family emergency and wasn't able to make it, and wanted to send her regards. And yes, I couldn't agree more with James. Let's win Colorado, and enjoy the rest of Deep Green. Thanks for coming out.